So right now it's pretty easy for the dog to get the bones. So we're going to add some obstacle and hazards that will make the game more difficult. We're going to start with a flying donut. So we're going to go down to the sprite menu and search for a donut. There's my flying donut. So I'm going to add my flying donut to the game. So now we're going to add, we need setup code. So it knows where to be at each level. So like we've done with other things, when it receives the setup, it's going to set itself up to certain places. We want to set the rotation style to left, right, so it is always going to be moving left, right. So in the motion, I'm going to go set rotation style to left, right. Then it's kind of big, so we want to make them smaller. So we are going to set its size to 50%. Now we need to say where it needs to go on the different levels. So you are going to need 3 different if-then statements, one for each level. So if-then, and if-then. And what we're doing is we're saying what the level is equal to. So like we've done with other sprites, we need to go to the operator and get the equals operator. So I'm going to put the equals operator into the if-then statements. And we're talking about levels. So now I'm going to go to variables and I'm going to grab level. So if the level, the first one, we're going to place it equals 1. And obviously the next one is going to be if the level equals the second level. And last but not least, if the level equals level 3. So now we need to go back to motion and tell the donut where to go on the XY axis. So I need the go to. So the first one for the first level, the coordinates are going to be 140x and 35y. Now I need another go to xy for my level 2, and the coordinates are going to be 0x and 15y. And last but not least, level 3, we are going to go to 70x and 30y. So go to 70x and 30y. Now I need to set up so we have it set up for where it's going to appear. Now I needed to give it directions for what it's going to do. So when it receives the start message to start going, this is set up, so it sets it up. So we need to do start. We want this to happen the entire game. So I'm going to go into control and I'm going to find the forever block because I want this to just keep going and going and going. So first thing we're going to do is have it point in the direction of 90. So it is going to be pointing that way, which you can't really tell because it's a donut and it doesn't have a face, but that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to point in the direction of 90. And then I want this to repeat a different amount of times. We want it to go control to the right in small movements. So I'm going to get a repeat block and I'm going to tell it to repeat 35 times. And I just want it to move 3 steps at a time. This way it's going to look like it's patrolling. So it's actually going to move 3 steps 35 times going in this direction. Then once it's doing, because we're going to have it patrolling back and forth in the game. So the next thing we're going to do is we want it to point in the opposite direction, which like I said, you're not necessarily going to see it because there's no head like with the dog. But I'm going to make this minus 90 so I can write it in, or I can use the arrow to move it as well. Now this means it's going to move in this direction, and I want it to do the same thing. So I need to find my repeat block. It's going to repeat 35 times, and it's going to move 3 steps at a time. So this basically makes my donut move back and forth. Now we need one more thing. So it detects if the player collides with it, because that would be the game would be over. So we need another start. So I'm going to go to events, and when I receive the start, because this is a separate code that needs to be running when the game starts, wait until, so I'm going to go to controls and find wait until my character in their sensing is touching the player block. So when this is going to happen, it's basically saying wait until the donut touches the dog. And then what happens? We broadcast game over. Because if you touch the dog, sorry, that's under, it's under events, sorry. Broadcast game over. Because this means when the donut touches the dog, the game is over. So if I try to start the game, see how the donut is moving back and forth? Now, the weird part is it's not moving back and forth a lot. So we could play with this later, but it's moving. So maybe I want it to move back and forth more. Maybe I'm going to have it repeat 50 times here. And let's try 50 times here and see what it does to the donut. So my donut does move farther. So if you want your donut to be moving further, you can change how many times it repeats. You also can change how many times, how many steps it takes. So if I say 10 steps, but see, this is what happens. When I do the 10 steps, it's moving pretty fast. Okay, so more steps makes it move faster. So if you don't want it to move so fast, you can change the steps to 5. And watch it go. And that's how you add some junk food.